Good day everyone, another morning, another learning. Today we discuss about Module 8 which is aspect. Here are the objectives. One is define and describe aspects. And lastly, explain kind of aspects and the meaning they express. Here are the contents. Section 1. What is aspects? Aspect is both grammatical and lexical. It is expressed in predicates, especially in verb, inflections, and collocations of verbs. Uh, there's one example here is a grammatical aspect, which is semantic category represented in the syntax. It conveys information about whether eventualities are in progress, finished, or about to start, and the number of occasions an eventually takes place. Here are some examples of aspect. It's beginning to break. It's breaking. It broke. It's broken. Generic and specific predication. When we say generic, it is a bounded situation or states. Another is eternal truths. And another is statement about things that we do not expect to change. For examples, 2 and 2 make 4. Rabbits are rodents. The Atlantic Ocean separates Africa and South America. A stitch in time serves 9. When we say specific, it is a bounded or temporary states or certain situations that exist at the present time. For example, Gregory is here. I have a headache. The company manufactures silicon chips and Stella seems happy. When we say aspectual modifiers, affirmative and negative, call attention to boundaries. The beginning or end of states changes from the one state to another. Example, already, still, or not yet, and anymore. And now we're comparing a sentence without aspectual modifiers and with aspectual modifiers. When we say without aspectual modifiers, like example, Gregory is here. And with aspectual, Gregory is already here. When we say without aspect modifiers, I have a headache. And with aspectual modifiers, I still have a headache. The company manufactures silicon chips. When with aspectual modifiers, the company does not yet manufacture silicon chips. When without spectral modifiers, Stella seems happy. Then with the spectral modifiers, Stella doesn't seem happy anymore or no longer seem happy. And we notice the difference of without a spectral modifiers and with a spectral modifiers. Now we compare the previous state and present state. When we said already, in its previous state is negative, then its present state is positive. As well as still, it both positive. In not yet, it's both negative and also no longer it's positive and negative. The modifiers already and not yet call attention to the beginning of a state. Gregory's being here already indicates that the state has begun. There has been a change from Gregory's not being here to being here, not yet or still not, indicates that the state has not begun. Still and not anymore call attention to the end of this state but with a reversal of polarity. Still informs us that the state being here has not ended and not anymore or no longer says that the state of being here has ended. This is stative predicates and dynamic predicates. Static predicates describe states that exist, whether permanent or temporary in nature, requires no expenditure of energy, and that continues until energy is expended to change that state. Static predicates is typically durative in aspect. For example, we can ask how long with an expression that tell the length of time for an hour all day from Christmas till New Year's Day, all during the parade, all long as she was studying. Another is static predication relates a situation that does not change during the time when the predication is valid. The following are stative verbs like adore, adore, desire, enjoy, envy, fear, hate, like, long, for, might, prefer, regret, want, and next is dynamic predicates. It is changed from one state to another. Reports a situation that will only continue if there is a continual input of energy, but it ceases when energy is no longer expended. For examples, uh, the following are activity sentences that have dynamic predicates. The one is something moved. Second, the sun came up. Third, the boat drifted along. And fourth, they discussed the plan. Stative verbs suggest a continuing and unchanging state. Verbs that express feeling adore, desire, enjoy, envy, fear, hate, like, long for, mind, prefer, regret, want, and wish. Verbs that express other mental states: believe, doubt, expect, intend, interest, know, suppose, suspect, think, understand. Verbs that express a relation between two entities: belong, consist, contain, cons, deserve, equal, include, involve, keep, lack, matter, mean, need, owe, own, remain, require, resemble. Verbs that express a physical stand or position: kneel, lean, lie, sit, and stand. Verbs that express non-action: remain, stay, wait. Dynamic verbs include those that express some form of physical movement: come, drift, float, go, hop, jump, pout, rotate, run, swim, turn, vibrate, and walk. Verbs of communication: argue, complain, discuss, explain, invite, question, report, say, shout, talk, translate, whisper, and write. Verbs of perception that involve doing something like feel, listen, look at, look for, smell, sniff, taste, and watch. Duration is not the same for an activity for a state. Action is constant but not necessarily continuous. Some dynamic verbs designate a change occurring over a period of time: change, deteriorate, dwindle, improve, and worsen. Next is durative and punctual. Albert kicked a ball and the ball struck a post. This sentence contains two verbs that have punctual aspect. Kicking and striking normally designate actions that are momentary. Some other verbs that suggest a momentary action are flash, hit, jump, kick, and leap. Durative verbs refer to actions which may last for a period of time. Example, they talk until midnight and it rained on and off for 5 days. When we say punctual verbs have very short duration, the time occupied to express the process is longer than the time occupied to perform it. Such processes are indivisible. The soldier started shooting an arrow, nor the soldier is shooting an arrow, nor soldier finished shooting an arrow. Only non-punctuals can be divided. He started writing, he is writing, he finished writing. Next is telic and atelic. Telic verbs denote an event with an inherent endpoint. Example, rescue. When we say italic verbs, it is to denote an event without an inherent endpoint. Example, tickle. Now we differentiate in no duration and it has a duration. When we say italic in no duration, achievement, and it has a duration, accomplishment. Realize, it is drawn. same as italic, semifractive activity. When we say knock and it has a duration, it is a walk. When it's chainless, it has duration, state, and no. It has a four-way classification of predicates according to Wendler, 1967, which is static predicates, it is italic, activity predicates, which is italic, achievement predicates, italic, and accomplishment predicates, italic. Italic predicates do not defend an end or goal, while stative sentences, George was waiting. Activity sentences, Sandra was swimming. Italic sentences have an end result. Achievement sentences, George was leaving. Accomplishment sentences, Sandra was writing a letter. Summary, states are non-dynamic, durative, and italic. Activities are dynamic, durative, and italic. Achievements are dynamic, instantaneous, and italic. Accomplishments are dynamic, durative, and italic. Ingressive, continuative, aggressive aspect. Predicates of location. The lamp is on the table. Some oranges are in the basket. Donald is at the door. Locative predicates. On, in, at, above, beside, near, next to, under, two arguments. Between, three arguments. When the subject noun phrase is an animate being like Donald, they are punctual verbs to express the beginning or ingressive aspect, durative verbs that express the continuative aspect, and punctual verbs which express the end or ingressive aspect of being in a location. Like example, Donald gets to arrives at or reaches the door, ingressive aspect, or Donald stays at or remains at the door, continuative aspect. Donald leaves or departs from the door, aggressive aspect. Next is prospective and retrospective. Prospective verbs are oriented towards later happenings. Ask, think of. Example, we ask Ronald to drive slower. Jessica is thinking of visiting her grandmother. Retrospective verbs or previous actions, apologize or deny. Edgar apologized for missing the meeting or for having missed the meeting. We denied seeing the report or having seen the report. Here are some retrospective versus prospective. Lastly, some grammatical expressions. The prospective, they are to live. You are not to worry. We are we to wait here? Prospective forms expresses a looking forward. It is not about the future but about present intentions regarding the future. Be plus to plus be about to live. Be going to live. Past prospective, past tense of be plus to. Here are some examples of time expressions from past, present, and future. That's all, and I hope you learned something. Happy learning!